Welcome back. With volcanic ash emanating continuously from the La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Ministry of Health in St. Lucia is once again cautioning members of the public to be wary of ash, which is becoming increasingly present in the atmosphere. Officials within the ministry are giving useful tips on how to handle the current conditions. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
As the Ministry of Health and Wellness continues to monitor the latest developments of the volcanic eruption of the La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a press conference was held on Wednesday morning to update the nation on the dangers of the increasing amounts of ash in the atmosphere. Present at the conference were Deputy Chief Environmental Health Officer Cheryl St. Romain and Medical Officer of Health Dr. Glensford Joseph. Dr. Joseph said ever since the volcano became effusive in December 2020, the Ministry of Health has been preparing and planning to manage potential risks associated with its hazards. He said, since the volcano began its series of explosive eruptions on April 9th, the ministry was informed of the increase of volcanic ash in the atmosphere, and so the need has arisen to alert the public of the possible dangers.
Freshly fallen volcanic ash are coated with acid. Volcanic ash can be dispersed over a large distance for thousands of miles by the wind and can contaminate the environment. Exposure to volcanic ash can result in health issues with respiratory effect, eye symptoms, skin irritations, and indirect effect. Breathing volcanic ash can cause respiratory symptoms even in healthy persons. Persons impacted by volcanic ash may have nasal irritation and discharge, irritation to the throat, soreness to the throat, and this may be associated with a dry cough.
Dr. Joseph said it is important to note that persons with chronic respiratory conditions like asthma, as well as individuals with heart disease, may have aggravation or worsening of their conditions. He said the particles from the ash can also cause irritation and infection to the skin and eyes. He said there are other downsides to the ash fall.
Volcanic ash may have indirect effect, including the increase in the risk of road traffic accident due to poor visibility and slippery roads. The wellness centers and hospitals have enhanced their surveillance system for early detection and the management of symptoms associated with volcanic ash. Based on information received this morning, there has been no report of an increase in persons presenting to the health facilities to manage such symptoms.
Whilst Joseph spoke of the hazards, St. Romain mentioned some important and helpful tips for St. Lucians to follow to shield them from the dangers.
To lessen the chance of ash getting into your homes, ensure all doors and windows remain closed at all times. If there are gaps where the ash can be blown in, secure with damp cloths. Try as best to maintain clean areas within the home setting. Avoid sweeping. Alternatively, you can mop to avoid the dust, to avoid lifting the dust in the homes. Stay indoors as much as possible, especially where there is obvious ashfall, like what occurred yesterday in Vieux Fort. Secure your water storage facilities by disconnecting the feed from the roof to avoid contaminating your water in storage. This is important as the ash fall can contaminate and affect the quality of your water supply. Additionally, persons who store water in drums ensure that these containers are properly secured. Avoid as much as possible to drive or go sightseeing during a heavy ashfall. We do not know when the concentration of volume will change, and that is determined by the wind direction and intensity. If you are out and there is an episode, there is a likelihood that visibility will be impaired and cause accidents. Be careful when cleaning your windscreens. It is important because the particles can be abrasive and affect your windscreen, so wipe or dust them off before you use.
The ministry implored the masses to remain vigilant and to continue listening out for advisories and updates on the ever-changing situation. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
WASCO is rubbishing claims that pipe-borne water is not safe for consumption, as has been claimed by some social media posts. The Communications and Marketing Officer at WASCO says the organization has many systems in place to ensure that the water is purified before it gets to the public. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
The water and sewage company WASCO is refuting all claims that its potable or pipe-borne water is unsafe for consumption. The Communications and Marketing Officer at WASCO, Sherry-Ann Williams, explained that on April 13th, reports surfaced on social media that the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, had authenticated the claim that the water is unfit for drinking.
We want to categorically rubbish all claims disputing the safety of pipe-borne water, and we want to stress that there are established mechanisms in place to address any threat to the water supply long before it reaches any of our consumers. We are, however, mindful of public concerns regarding the possible contamination of our water sources due to increasing volcanic activity in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are all aware of how far the volcanic ash has traveled, and several neighboring islands have reported getting ash in their countries. Of course, St. Lucia is one of them. But we want to address all of the public concerns because we know that this is an important issue, and we want to allay any public fears with regard to whether or not it is safe to consume WASCO's water.
Williams says there are multiple processes that WASCO's treated water has to undergo before it reaches consumers. She explained that it is understandable the concerns that are being expressed due to the ashfall from St. Vincent. However, the company is on top of the matter and the pH levels of the water is being monitored.
We want to take all the necessary measures beforehand in case we have to deal with any sort of eventuality. We also want to stress too that because of our monitoring and surveillance that is ongoing, we will be able to catch any red flag. We will be able to catch any issue that is impacting the water from very early. And one of the ways that we do that is through sample testing. So we are continuing with our sample water testing, and we want to analyze the pH, mineral, and turbidity levels in the samples of water, just to make sure that there is no buildup of any minerals in that water.
She explained, however, that as a precaution, the Grace water system had to be flushed against the increased levels of Saharan dust and volcanic ash in that area.
The quality of water is safe for drinking. We did have one situation yesterday at the Grace treatment plant where we flushed the system at the Grace water treatment plant, and that didn't take very long, about an hour, and we were able to get the system back up and running.
Williams says if there is ever a need for WASCO to announce that there is an issue with water supply or quality, it will be done through official channels. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
It has been confirmed that ashfall from the volcano wreaking havoc in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is now a major cause for concern for the Ministry of Health. But is this enough to interfere with the plans of the Ministry of Education? During a Wednesday morning press conference, officials responded to the question of whether it is still safe to send children to school.
On Monday, April 12th, the island's Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, made the official announcement that on Monday, the 19th of April, schools island-wide will be reopened for the third term of the academic year. However, among other issues, the influx of volcanic ash emanating from the La Soufrière volcanic eruptions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have raised fresh concerns over the health and safety of children once they return to school. This matter was raised to officials in the Ministry of Health during a Wednesday morning press conference. Deputy Chief Environmental Health Officer Cheryl St. Romain said the decision to stick with the current schedule for the reopening of school or to make any changes depends on the amount of ashfall in the atmosphere nearer to the date.
Presently, those persons will be going into confined spaces. So once the spaces are remain closed, there shouldn't be a problem. They wear the mask and so on. But like I indicated, a determination would be made because, you know, that would depend on what the situation is on the day. So a determination will be made as to what actions could be taken. But we still need to ensure that we take the precautions, wearing our mask and staying indoors.
St. Romain indicated that even during active school days, the ministries will be monitoring the level of ash and make determinations of whether to cancel classes or not. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Wednesday, the 14th of April, the Ministry of Health and Wellness received confirmation from the Ezra Long Lab of 4 new cases of COVID-19 from a batch of 191 samples taken on the 12th and 13th of April. The contact tracing for these new cases is underway. Confirmation was also received of the recovery of 11 individuals diagnosed with COVID-19, bringing the total number of active cases in country to 94. Presently, one of the active cases requires critical care at the respiratory hospital. The new cases bring the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date to 4,371. The vendor coordinator at the Castries City Council says the CCC is running out of options when it comes to getting vendors to adhere to rules and protocols in the market. He says the CCC has put its foot down and there should be absolutely no vending in trolleys on weekdays. But at the same time, he says the CCC is exasperated with the back and forth with vendors and farmers.
Market vendors, farmers, and the CCC are constantly at loggerhead when it comes to the newly placed rules for the provisions market. The latest feud between vendors and the CCC was as a result of farmers and vendors being asked to stop vending in front of the marketing board as well as Dealey's supermarket, but rather in the spot which was previously used by provision vendors. The vendor coordinator of the CCC, Augustine Victor, says they are at wit's end as they have tried all measures possible to ensure there is some semblance of protocol adherence by vendors. However, that continues to be futile.
We are going to lay our hands down. If the people dissatisfied with a lot of vendors over there and farmers, they are the one now who have to come and start making noise to the media and say exactly that there is a market for the people and now they cannot even get space to play them. We are not letting people do what they want. What we are saying on a Friday and Saturday, some of them said that that's the only time they can make $1 and whatever the case may be. So we have allowed that. I know for sure that the farmers down there will complain just now. I have tried everything to make sure everybody one area, so nobody can get no disadvantage of anyone. So I'm just telling you, especially the vendors who always complaining that I'm telling you, on Friday and Saturday, I will but we will not allow the vendors just to do what they want.
On the other hand, Victor says there will be a strict policy of no trolley vending within the city.
These days you have to take it, these days is the silly season. It's a lot of politics, and no matter whether that one there or that one not there, the country have to have laws and regulations. So council have decided there's no trolleys on the road, no trolleys, whether Monday to no trolleys on the road. Monday to Thursday, the vendors remain in the market. And on Friday and Saturday, we will allow the people to be around because all what we do, you're getting more vendors. I've just laid my hands down, which is for this week, starting from this weekend.
Victor is adamant that the CCC always communicates with vendors why they need to utilize the facilities made for them, and at this point, all options have been exhausted.
The police have the job to do. What we are saying, the people that have the trolleys are some of the same vendors that inside who have about 3 or 4 trolleys on the road. Now the vendors that remain inside, some of the vendors that inside who have no trolleys, it is a disadvantage to them. And I want people to understand that. And this is why today or tomorrow, the same vendors will have to come out. Because if you have a trolley, and when you come back, the person that is supplied the trolley for you come back with $200, $300, $400, and the one inside hear that, it means that they themselves now will have to find trolleys to go on the road to. Are you going to tell me the whole city will just have trolleys all over amongst people and everything? You must have rules and regulations.
He says eventually vendors will have to listen and adhere to the rules and regulations implemented. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
The St. Lucia National Workers Union says it is appalled by the current state of affairs within the security sector. The Secretary General of the NWU says while COVID-19 is being used as an excuse by many business places, many of the unfair practices existed before COVID-19. He says the blatant exploitation of workers will not be tolerated.
The St. Lucia National Workers Union says they have been informed of appalling industrial behavior being exhibited by certain employers within the security services sector. The Secretary General of the NWU, Johan Haywood, says members employed within that sector have made it clear that they have been subject to many industrial atrocities and that will not be tolerated.
We represent most of the companies within the security sector, and based on engagements that we've been having with members over the last few weeks, actually, you're starting to unearth that there are a lot of what you may want to call industrial atrocities being committed within that sector as it relates to health and safety, proper provision of PPEs, security-related paraphernalia that security guards would be required to use on almost a daily basis. You have the whole question of the vacation, in terms of calculation of vacation, the whole question of people's salaries, how it is paid, and basic things that you expect someone employed within a security company to have or to benefit from.
He says the union will be doing everything in their power to rectify these situations and ensure that the membership is not exploited.
We will be looking to do it as best as possible to try to see how the terms and conditions could be standardized throughout that particular sector, so that regardless of what company one works in, there are certain basic fundamentals that you expect that a worker should expect to have as they work within that sector. So that is basically what we would like to do, and we want to push as best as possible.
Haywood says the concern that employees have had to make drastic changes at the workplace due to the COVID-19 pandemic does not apply to majority of the concerns that have been brought to the attention of the union. He says some of the problems have been in existence for years.
Whether there's a pandemic or not, your vacation, getting the correct days vacation every year, it doesn't depend on a pandemic or crisis or anything. If you work for X number of years, X number of days is what you're supposed to get, full stop. So I wouldn't even say it is because of the pandemic.
He says the union will remain true to its mission and ensure that workers are represented and protected from exploitation. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.